I'm Tim Herrera with the Sacramento County Office of Education, here with another Teacher of the Year profile. Right now we're speaking with Kristen Swanson from the Robles School District. Thanks for joining us.
Of course.
All right, now you're a fifth grade teacher at Main Avenue School.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about fifth grade because that's kind of a really critical child development grade for students because they're really getting to be an older kid now.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the things that you have to be aware of in a child's development at that age?
Well, I think definitely they're at that critical age where they're not so little anymore. And this is my first, well, this last year was my first year in fifth grade. Previously, I taught first grade for 4 years. So it was definitely a change for me. And I had to really study kids kind of, and I had to really think about, well, where are they in their development? And they're starting to question things more. They're starting to wonder about like, well, why? And I'd often get the question, well, why, Miss Swanson? Well, I'd teach something and they're like, well, why? And they're starting to like become their own person. They're like little adults now. And it like pushed me to be a better teacher and to like, I would start questioning things. And it was just so like fascinating. I love it so much. It's such a fun age. But I think that's like kind of the biggest developmental stage for them is just, they're just pushing that boundary of like becoming themselves really, and just like wondering and questioning everything. And it's just fascinating. It's amazing.
So at that stage, they're growing, they're developing, and at the same time, you really have to start preparing them for middle school and the older grades.
Sure.
So what are some of the things that you need to do to make sure that the student is ready for the older grades?
I think part of it is that social skills. It's not just teaching them math and reading and social studies. It's teaching them the social skills and how to relate to people and how to solve problems on their own. So a lot of what I do every day is teaching them how to solve problems, and it's out on the playground, it's in the classroom, it's solving problems at home. They'll come to me with, well, my brother did this to me and I didn't like it, and it's like, well, how do I help them solve those problems? And how do I give them those skills that they need that are gonna help them for the rest of their lives? So it's a lot of that are going to help them in middle school, high school, and as an adult.
So really, the social aspect is a huge part of all of that.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
And so as the students are entering sixth grade, and then sixth grade is a really important, well, they're all important grades.
Yeah.
But sixth grade is important from the aspect of, at that level, if they start to fall behind there, they're going to be falling behind in middle school. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the things that you work with your students on to prepare them for that really crucial time where you want to make sure they don't fall behind?
Well, I mean, I'm constantly looking at the standards of like future grades, and it's like, well, if I hit this standard or I hit this skill, it's going to help them in the next year. Or I look at previous standards and skills. Like, so if I'm doing fifth grade, I look at, well, this is what they learned in fourth grade, so if I can do a little bit of review to really secure that foundation, then I'm setting them up for what I need to teach next week or what I need to teach right now. And if I'm securing that foundation, I'm really helping them for future grades. And then I'm also, we're always pulling small groups, and we're always pulling like intervention groups. And also on the other spectrum, you're pulling enrichment groups, and you're pulling small groups to help them excel and to further along. So you're always trying to help them at their level, and you're always trying to meet kids where they are and to push them along. So in that sense, you're always trying to do that continuum. So it doesn't really matter what grade level you're teaching, you're looking at the spectrum.
And if you have those students that you know that you suspect might have a tendency to fall behind a little bit, you really try to bolster them a little bit just to make sure that they are on task.
Definitely. Yeah.
Are there certain specific subjects maybe in the fifth grade level that are stressed more academically? Is there something that you stress more?
I'd say definitely math is like a big one in fifth grade. We do fractions, and fractions is something that
no one likes fractions.
No, yeah. Actually, I had a few this year who love fractions, and that was actually kind of inspiring to the rest of the kids because they get so excited when it was the fractions unit, and they would see the excitement in those few kids, and they'd be like, well, maybe if they love fractions, there's something about them. But yeah, since we switched to Common Core, now fractions is a fifth grade thing. They introduce it a little bit in fourth grade, but really it's hit really heavy in fifth grade. we really have to, hit that really hard in 5th grade, and we have to stress it. So definitely I'd say math is like a big thing in 5th grade. But reading is so important in every single grade, because you have to read for every job. And I tell that to my kids every day almost. It's like, why do we have to do this, Miss Swanson? Well, I mean, give me a job. And I explain to them, well, you have to do this in that job. You have to do this in that job. And so, you try and relate it to everyday life.
Even at that age, they're asking, how am I ever going to use this?
Exactly. Yeah. They do. They're questioners.
So you have some students, obviously, that are motivated by fractions, you said. But obviously, a lot of kids have different motivation levels.
Yeah, for sure.
What are some things you do to try to really kind of motivate the kids to be curious and want to learn?
Oh, I get really silly with my kids. We dance, we sing, we use silly voices. One time I was unpacking a box of Scholastic books, and the box was like a perfect size. We were putting it on our heads and dancing around and just doing silly things, and it motivates them. And I know, I get to know my kids on their level, and like I get to know them really well. And just I think knowing your kids, respecting them, having them respect you, you just get to know them so well that even if they don't like the task, that you can find a way to motivate them. So. No matter what it is, even if they don't like it, it's like, come on, just, you can do it. And I'm like, all right, Miss Swanson, I'll do it. And, you just find that respect and that mutual trust with them, and you can find a way to get through to them.
And you have, 25 to 30 different personalities, and each child has a different motivational trigger too, so you have to find out what it is.
Yeah, and sometimes it's very difficult. And some days, you can't get every child, I had 30 this year, you can't get all 30 students to do the task at the exact same time. So sometimes you have to why don't you do this first and then come back to it? And sometimes you have to do that. But eventually it all gets done, and then it's, that's a win. And it is what it is. And if, all the kids go home happy eventually, and it is. It's a great job, and the kids are amazing, and it's wonderful.
At that level, at any level, I guess, but let's talk about family involvement and how crucial that is, not only the overall school environment, but in an individual student's learning. Explain how family involvement is so crucial.
Oh, I mean, without family involvement or family, like a conversation, no matter what that looks like, is it email, is it talking in person, is it talking on the phone, is it a messaging system like Class Dojo is one way I use it. Some kids just won't buy into school. Some kids will, because some kids are just all about school no matter what, even if their parents aren't in the school picture at all. But I think you need to have parents involved, because otherwise, kids just won't see school as important. Well, my mom said my mom doesn't come here, my mom doesn't look at school, and so it's very important to get parents involved. It's very important to have at least let parents get them aware of what's going on at school. Send home, what am I thinking of?
Like newsletters?
Newsletters,
Yeah.
thank you. Newsletters,
Sure.
letting them know of school events, inviting them to science night, inviting them to open house back to school, letting them know that you care about their involvement, asking for their advice, letting them know I'm working with your child on this. How do you suggest I work with him on this? Just letting them know that you care about their advice, and you trust them, you respect them. I think that's very important.
So what inspired you to be a teacher?
I've always loved children. I was the little kid who was holding babies, and I was at family events. I was off in the corner with the kids, and I was babysitting at a young age. And then I had some very amazing teachers as a kid. There was Mrs. Peters, my 1st grade teacher, Mr. Milley, my 5th and 6th grade teacher. And I would just I would love going to school. I would play school as a child. And I just always wanted to have that impact on kids.
Well, certainly you have, because you are the Teacher of the Year for the Roebla School District.
Well, thank you.
We've been speaking with Kristen Swanson from Roebla. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.